Hey everyone, and welcome to today's Explainer. We are taking on a genuinely fascinating challenge today. We're going to completely deconstruct a terrifyingly brief piece of microfiction titled Patient's Diary. Our whole goal here is to break down exactly how a story can rely entirely on psychological dread to captivate you, using literally just a handful of perfectly chosen words. We're going to peel back the layers and examine the absolute mechanics of fear and narrative structure. So, let's dive right in. Don't believe the doctor. He will say that you are sick. Wow, just imagine waking up completely disoriented, and that is the very first thing you read. We're dropping right into the deep end of paranoia here. Right out of the gate, this opening hook just shatters your sense of safety. There's no long introduction, no gentle world building, none of that. You are instantly plunged into a high-stakes survival situation where the primary figure of trust, a medical professional, is immediately framed as the enemy. All right, part 1, Anatomy of a Microcontroller. 56, that's the exact word count of the entire original story we're analyzing today. Just 56 words. When we deal with a micro-thriller like this, absolutely every single word carries massive narrative weight. I mean, there is zero room for filler. Every noun, every pronoun, every line break, it's all a highly deliberate architectural choice. And it brilliantly proves that immense, suffocating suspense doesn't actually require heavy exposition or pages of background information. The author gives us the absolute bare minimum, forcing our own minds to do the heavy lifting. And as we'll see, your imagination is way more terrifying than anything an author could explicitly spell out. The setup here is incredibly rapid. Step 1, a diary is sitting right there on the nightstand. Step 2, the protagonist recognizes the handwriting as their own. And step 3, they read an entry dated for today. Notice how efficiently these first 3 sentences establish the protagonist's disorientation. They establish an immediate, visceral connection to the mystery. The character hasn't even gotten out of bed yet, and the reality is already completely fractured. They're receiving a desperate message from their past self about a present danger. Which brings us to part 2, the Diary of Paranoia. We have to treat these sentences not just as dialogue, but as crucial clues in a mind-bending psychological puzzle. Quote, "The handwriting is mine, today's entry." This is where the true creeping horror really begins. It completely isolates the patient. There's no external ally trying to send a warning. The warning is coming from inside the house, so to speak. Just imagine the chilling realization that your past self knew something terrible was going to happen to your present self, and all they could do was leave a breadcrumb trail. It forces the reader to ask, what on earth happened to me between writing this and reading this? And then we turn to the second diary page. If you are reading this, he has already convinced you. Man, this brilliantly illustrates how to build an inescapable trap. It creates a horrific paradox. Think about it. The very act of reading the diary confirms that you've already lost. It makes us feel that the protagonist is entirely helpless. They've already been manipulated, they've already been deceived, and they are already completely under the doctor's control. The past self is speaking to the present self with total tragic certainty. So the crucial point is this. We've got a very clear pattern. The patient is writing desperate warnings to themselves to combat a manipulative doctor. But I want you to stop and really think about the narrative structure we've mapped out so far. If the patient wrote those first 2 pages to protect themselves, what could possibly be written on the final page? Hold that thought for a second. How do you even escalate paranoia that's already reached its peak? And that leads us to part 3. Who wrote the last page? The major twist. This is where the perspective violently shifts, and the true nature of the protagonist's predicament is completely unveiled. You asked us to erase your memory yourself? Confront the absolute gravity of that twist. This wasn't written by the patient. The protagonist isn't just a victim of a malicious doctor anymore. No, they are a victim of their own deliberate choice. The horror isn't just external manipulation. The real horror is that whatever reality the patient was living in before was so unbearable that they actively chose to have their mind wiped. We suddenly have 2 conflicting realities crashing together. On side A, you have the paranoia and self-trust of a personal fight for survival. But then, side B, the final page hits us with the word us. You asked us. That single tiny pronoun introduces a sudden, terrifying shift. It reveals a looming, unseen medical authority. The intimate, solitary world of the diary has been completely infiltrated by the very people the patient was warned about. The doctor didn't just alter the patient's mind, they actually found the secret diary and left a mocking correction right inside it. Moving right along to part 4, the infinite treatment loop. The physical world finally crashes directly into the internal paranoia of the diary entries as the doctor casually walks into the room and delivers this final line. Well, are you ready to start the treatment anew? Notice the phrasing there, anew. This single word acts as the trapdoor springing shut on the protagonist's fragile reality. The doctor's tone is casual, polite, almost cheerful even, which contrasts horribly with the psychological devastation the patient is experiencing. The doctor knows exactly what the patient just read. When we map out the hidden architecture of this nightmare chronologically, a horrifying cycle emerges. Time 1, the patient requests a memory wipe due to trauma. Time 2, they panic and write a warning to themselves. Time 3, the doctors find it, add the final page, and erase the memory anyway. And time 4, the patient wakes up terrified, and the doctor walks right in to restart the process. The patient is doomed to repeat the sequence of realization and erasure over and over and over again. You know, this perfectly encapsulates the absolute brilliance of microfiction. Its defining characteristic is that it relies entirely on you, the reader, to fill in the horrifying gaps. The true terror isn't actually in the 56 words on the page, it's in the vast, dark emptiness between the lines. We don't know what the original trauma was. We don't know what the quote-unquote treatment actually involves. By withholding information, the author forces our brains to construct the worst possible scenario. Which leaves us with this final lingering thought. Is this the first time they've woken up and read this diary? Or is this the 100th? Because the structure of this micro-thriller creates an infinite loop. There's absolutely no way to know how long this patient has been trapped in this cycle of waking up, terrifying themselves, and having their mind wiped clean again. It is a masterclass in narrative design, perfectly engineered to get under your skin and stay there. I really hope this breakdown helps you appreciate the profound weight that just a few carefully structured sentences can carry. Keep analyzing, keep questioning, and we'll see you in the next explainer.